Alright guys, so let's go ahead and unbox the Nexus 5X. Let's go ahead and do this, baby. Alright guys, you'll get a nice X, which stands for Nexus 5X. On the back, you'll see LG, Android, and the Nexus 5X. Alright, if you have a genuine model, it should say LG H790 Nexus 5X. I got the carbon 16GB version, but you can also get 32GB version. This is made in Korea. Also make a note of all the GSM and WCDMA that's supported. You can actually use it on AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, and Verizon in the US. Alright, on the right side, you got blah blah blah. Also, the box is printed in Korea. Alright, less talking, more unboxing. Alright guys, moment of the truth. Boom shakalaka, baby. Just like the Nexus 6P, you get a quick start guide. I don't think we really need that, so I'm going to put that aside. Inside the box, you will get a USB Type-C cables, as you can see. It's USB Type-C. And you have an adapter here that is rated 5 volts, 3 amps, just like the one found on the Nexus 6P. Just like the Nexus 6P, you get 90 days of Google Play Music free. Also, you got the SIM ejaculator tool. And finally, we have the Nexus 5X. This is the carbon color. Let me go ahead and open up for you real quick. And boom shakalaka. Look at that, baby. That is looking real nice. Alright. Alright, my first impressions, it is super light compared to the Nexus 6P that I unboxed yesterday. It is a lot lighter. This feels like a toy. This feels like a metal object. Alright, let's take a look here. The back is some sort of plastic material, obviously. LG logo, Nexus. You got the fingerprint sensor there. You got this camera that sort of pops up from the surface. Also, you got 2 LED flash, just like the Nexus 6P, and laser focus. Alright, a lot simpler design than the Nexus 6P, but looking pretty good. On the left side, you'll find a nano SIM tray, obviously. And on the right side, you'll find a power button, volume button, very rectangular. Definitely this phone doesn't scream premium, but for what you pay, $379, it's not bad, I guess. Alright, up at the top you have a microphone, and on the bottom you got USB Type-C, another microphone, and 3.5mm headphone jack. Alright, let's power on this bad boy. Alright, also the front, you've got the front camera. I think those are speakers. I'm not sure if it's actually dual stereo speakers. I believe it's actually just mono. That's just for your ear. We'll find out here in a second. But there is also, I think that's a proximity sensor that's showing there. Alright, the back actually seems pretty good. It's like a smooth plastic material. It's actually not picking up any fingerprints, so I really like that. Right, but it does feel super light. If you want a phone that's super light, this may be it. While that's booting, let me give you a quick field test between the Nexus 6P and the 5X. 5X just seems very plasticky, a lot smaller. This one is a lot more solid. Feel it in my hands. Alright, 5.7 inch versus 5.2 inch. It's a lot smaller device. It is actually slightly thicker than the Nexus 6P. Alright, let me go ahead and sign in. Go through the sign up process here. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and set up the fingerprint. Alright, fingerprint added, just as quick as the Nexus 6P. I really like that. Alright, let's do a quick fingerprint sensor test. I want to see if this is just as fast as the Nexus 6P. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Woo! It is really, really fast. One thing I was worried about was the fingerprint sensor. Since the 5X is made by LG and the 6P is made by Huawei, I thought the technology would be different, but this one unlocks just as quick as the Nexus 6P. So I'm really happy with the fingerprint sensor location, also how fast it is. Alright, let's go ahead and put the SIM card in from my Nexus 6P. And I want to test out if the Nexus 5X allows you to swap SIM cards on the go. So here is the SIM card slot. So I think with all Nexus devices, you can actually hot swap the SIM while the phone is on. Oh, there we go. So we got LTE. so you can hot swap the SIM without restarting your phone. Like phones like the Galaxy Note 5, I actually have to restart it, which is sort of a pain. For people like me who change phones all the time and swap out SIMs. Also, if you travel a lot to different countries and use a lot of prepaid, that could be a feature you may be looking for. Alright, I just updated the Nexus 5X, and the same thing happened to me when I got the Nexus 6P. One thing I would ask Google is to update your devices before you send them out. It's a little bit of pain in the ass, but I think I'm not asking for too much. They should actually update it to the latest version before you ship it out. Anyway, let's go ahead and test out the display brightness. The Nexus 5X uses LCD screen versus the Nexus 6P. From this angle, them actually watching the phone, there's a huge difference in viewing angles. So let me actually go ahead and show you that real quick. So I've got both of these devices, and you can see with the Nexus 6P, the AMOLED screen, it actually keeps a lot of the viewing angles versus the 5X, the viewing angles are worse. So this could be a good feature. I mean, if you're in the public, you don't want people to see your phone, but the viewing angles on the AMOLED screens are a lot better. Also, you got 1440p versus 1080p. I actually don't mind the 1080p too much. It actually looks very crisp because it's only a 5.2 inch screen. I actually wouldn't recommend the 1440p screen on phones smaller than 5.5 inches. Alright, let me go ahead and set these both to the highest brightness. And also, one of you noted out in my unboxing of 6P yesterday, there's an adaptive display setting. So if you go into display settings, if you turn off adaptive brightness, your screen will actually get brighter. And I don't know why that didn't get brighter. But let me go ahead and bring this up all the way. We're gonna go to my site. Alright, this is at its brightest setting with adaptive display turned off. And actually with naked eye, the 6P is a lot brighter. But let me go ahead and use my light meter. And you can see I'm scoring about 6010, 609. The Nexus 5X scores about 323. So how does that compare? That is not that great. Compared to the LG G4 gets about 400 points. The 5X gets 322, 320, 325. Alright, so it's not the brightest display. If you want the brightest display, this is definitely not the phone for you. But this is a budget Android device, so you really get what you pay for. Let me give you a quick close-up here of the display. The display is actually real crisp. I think 5.2 inches is just perfect for 1080p screen. Alright, let's go ahead and do a quick sound test here. I'm not going to be able to actually show you the music due to copyright reasons again, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how loud it is using my decibel meter. Alright guys, so Nexus 5X only has actually speakers down here. It doesn't have dual stereo speakers like the 6P. I was getting maybe like at the maximum 100 decibels. The speakers are not loud at all. Of course, you get what you pay for. If you want super loud stereo speakers, definitely go with the 6P. Alright, probably the coolest feature on the Nexus 5X, it has the exact same camera, exact same sensor as the Nexus 6P. So even though you're paying $130 less, you get the same camera performance. Let me go ahead and show you the settings. 12.2 megapixels. Now the front camera is only 5 megapixels versus 8 megapixels. Back camera you can do all the way to UHD 4K. Front camera also you can do 1080p. Alright, but what I'm interested is, does it really have the same camera? So I've got these two mounted from pretty much the same angle. And you can see that they do have the exact same camera. The same view here you'll find with the 5X. Now the screen is a lot smaller, so it looks a little bit smaller, but the actual view is the same. Let me go ahead and take a photo real quick for you guys. Alright, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the photo. And I'm gonna go ahead and see if we got the exact same results. Let me go ahead and zoom in on where I focused. Just right about there. And boom shakalaka. Pretty much exact same performance, the exact same camera as the 6P. So if you want the camera performance of Nexus 6P, but you don't want to spend 500 bucks, then you can get the 5X and get the same performance. Alright, let me go ahead and do the front camera real quick. With the front camera, it's about the same, I would say. A slightly different angle here, so that's what you are seeing there. Of course, you also get the exact same Android 6.0 Marshmallow. As far as the software is concerned, there's no difference between these two. But let me go ahead and play the game real quick. If I can score 10 today, I'll definitely give out a free Nexus 5X. Ready? Wish me luck. Oh yeah, baby. Oh! Alright guys, so I found out why I didn't get great scores with the Nexus 6P. I was actually running it in 32-bit. But let's go ahead and test out how good the performance is on the Nexus 5X with the Qualcomm 808 with 2 gigs of RAM versus the Nexus 6P. Alright guys, so I've got 55,640 for the Nexus 6P, very respectable number. Also 44,180 for the Nexus 5X. A little bit disappointed, but with only 2 gigs of RAM, the performance is obviously not going to be as good as phones with 3 or 4 gigs of RAM. Alright, let's wrap up real quick. Overall, my thoughts on this Nexus 5X. It is definitely a smaller phone, more of a budget Android device versus the 6P. Feels a lot more premium. I would definitely get the 6P if you don't mind the larger size. The 5X is only a 5.2 inch phone. If you need a smaller, lighter phone, you don't care about performance so much, and also you don't want to break your bank, you just want to get another phone that's going to get you by for the next 6 months, then I guess the 5X would be it. It's definitely the watered down version of the 6P. If I had one choice, definitely I would spend more for the 6P. I should have a full review of the 5X and the 6P soon. If you haven't checked out my 6P unboxing, definitely check that out too. Have a great day, guys. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Instagram, Periscope, and as always, stay